What up, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys episode number 28 in my 2017/2018-ish shelf by shelf series. Yeah, I totally failed to do the series in a calendar year, which I have done before, so now this is like the second time that I failed, but I'm not starting over again, damn it. I'm just gonna finish it out, and I mean, honestly, it'll probably be another 3 or 4 years before I feel the need to do a complete new shelf by shelf series, an updated one. So yeah, we'll just trudge through this and finish it out here in 2018, hopefully. So starting down here, guys, sorry for the lighting, you know, I can't really do anything about it, but Steel Trap Dimension Extreme, I've mentioned many times that I try to collect this entire label. There's actually quite a lot that I still don't own, and I could honestly probably grab them pretty cheap. I mean, a lot of them are super cheap. Some of them have gone out of print, I think, or at least they're hard to find. But for the most part, they're pretty common. I think I just like to find them in the wild instead of just buying them online. And a big problem that I've been running into is I can't remember which ones I have and don't have. And that's actually been a huge problem lately with my collection. I just don't remember what I have and don't have anymore. So got to kind of get a cataloging system. If you guys have any recommendations for that, let me know. I'll probably get on that after I finish this shelf by shelf series, so probably like 2020 maybe. Just kidding. Hopefully not. After that we have Signs, which is honestly a movie that I just used to kind of roll my eyes at, but we did a podcast on the 22 Shots of Movies in Horror a few years ago, I guess at this point, where we covered films that came out in the year 2002. We spent a whole, year or so prepping and watching all kind of movies that came out in 2002, and Signs actually made my top 10, and then we formed that top 10 list, and Signs was on it. I actually really like it. It's a really suspenseful movie that honestly kind of works, is like jokey as the concept is, with the water killing the aliens and stuff. Spoiler alert, it's actually still holds up quite well. After that we have Storm of the Century plus 7 bonus movies. What do we got on here? We have Stephen King's Storm of the Century, The Shadows, Sheltered, Night of the Living Dead, Last of the Living, I Am Omega, Zombie Dearest, and Hide and Creep. Probably a bunch of movies that I will never watch. Maybe I will, who knows. But regardless, Storm of the Century is why I bought this. I've told this story before, but I basically was snowed in at a hotel. There was a Walmart across the street, which was the only place I could go to. I wanted to watch something. I figured this is perfect. It's called Storm of the Century. We got a bad snowstorm, and I absolutely loved it. It was so good, man. I truly loved it. It's one of my favorite Stephen King films. Very underrated, and man, that ending is great. After that we have Storm Warning, and of course this is a Dimension Extreme. This is actually one of the better Dimension Extremes. Pretty solid film out of Australia. I really enjoy this one. And speaking of Australia, we have Strange Behavior, one of the Ozploitation classics. It's alright. I can't really remember much about it, but I do remember it being pretty solid. Synapse Films put this one out in a special edition, which is pretty cool. I think this one has made its way to Blu-ray. After that we have The Strangers, and man, this is a movie that I just really wasn't that into for the longest time. Like, I remember when the trailer came out and I thought it looked like the greatest movie ever, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, it was okay. And then it wasn't until like later that I started appreciating it, and then I really started appreciating it when Dustin from Horror Corridor, Mr. Watson, praised this movie, and I really kind of saw how brilliant it is. So yeah, Strangers is really good. After that we have Street Tales of Terror. This is one of those titles that I just picked up randomly based off the title. Looks like some sort of anthology or something like that, so probably pretty low budget. After that we have Summer of Fear, and this is a Wes Craven classic in my opinion. This is an often forgotten and very overlooked Wes Craven film. It got a little bit more love lately since the Blu-ray came out from Doppelganger Films, which looks really good. It looks way better than this DVD. But yeah, it's pretty solid flick, honestly. Starring Linda Blair. It's good. Kind of a witchy movie. After that, we have Super IFC Midnight. I've actually never seen this film, directed by James Gunn. But yeah, it's one that I've heard good things about, just have not got around to it. After that, we have Survival Island, and look at that lenticular cover. Yeah. This movie is pretty awful. It's like about a killer piñata. It sucks. Came out in 2002, so I did watch it. Not good. After that, we have a film that you might be like, why the hell is this in your horror collection? Well, I pretty much only own horror films. So if I buy something that is not horror, it just goes in the horror collection. And that is Surviving the Game, which I'm a huge fan of. Hell, they played this shit on Monster Vision, so I guess that's why maybe I associate it with horror. Plus, it's, you know, people hunting people, which is a classic, Most Dangerous Game, which is kind of a horror story, you know. Really good. Ice-T, Rucker Hauer, Gary Busey. It's just an awesome movie. Like, this is one that I could really pop in and watch anytime. I've always loved this movie. Great stuff. After that, we have Sushi Girl, which I've actually never seen, but I've heard good things about. So eventually, I do want to check it out. It's magnet releasing. One of the things that I wanted to do this year, guys, and kind of gonna start making a point to do it once I get caught up on everything else, is I actually want to start watching a lot of the films in my collection that I've never seen, like Sushi Girl. There's so many in here that I just haven't seen, and I'm like, why do I own all these films I've never seen? So hopefully I will actually start doing that, you know, fairly soon. After that, we have Suspiria, the 2-disc special edition. Mood sent me this years ago, and yeah, man, I didn't love it at first, but I've definitely come around on it, and Argento in general. Like, I would probably say that Argento is pretty much like my second or third favorite filmmaker now, from, you know, not even in the top 10 all the way to second or third is pretty cool. I prefer his more horror films over his giallos, even though most of his films are giallos. Like, I like Phenomena a lot because it has a little bit more horror elements to it, but Suspiria is, you know, a actual horror film that he made, and it's really good stuff. After that, we have Mother of Tears, Dimension Extreme, which honestly, I actually really like this movie. It's actually a movie that I like a lot, and I actually would rank it higher amongst my top favorite Argento films. I don't know what everybody's beef with this one is. Yeah, it doesn't feel like Suspiria. Yeah, it doesn't feel like Inferno, but I really like it. I really like it. Honestly, I haven't seen a bad Argento film. Now, granted, I haven't seen a lot of his later work, but yeah. After that, we have The Swamp of the Ravens with the bonus movie Zombie, aka I Eat Your Skin. I remember this movie a little bit. Like, I have watched it before, and I just remember this, like, Peruvian, like, flute thing score that happens in it. Like, there's a flute score, which I really liked, and that's about all I remember. The deluxe widescreen edition. After that, we have Swamphead, which I've never watched, actually, but hey, maybe I should one day. It is Wild Eye releasing. Got a lot of these that I haven't watched, honestly, not gonna lie. After that, we have Sweatshop, and this is a movie that I actually really like. This is a, you know, kind of modern slasher set at a rave, and I actually just really like the characters and just the vibe of this movie, honestly. And the music's good too. It's a good solid slasher film. I rewatched it recently, and I didn't love it as much as I did the previous time watching it, but it's a pretty cool movie, honestly. After that, we have Symphony for Mr. Vengeance, which is a Park Chan-wook film, I believe. And this is from the Tartan Asian Extreme line, which I actually don't own many of these, but I would like to get a few more. I recently just picked one up, but I barely ever see them anywhere. But yeah, this one's really good. This is a solid movie. Just barely missed my top 10 of 2002. It was like at number 11. After that, we have SX Tape, and this is just one of those movies that I mention this a lot, but it's one of those movies that I think it was like a 2014 release, and it's one that came out that I didn't get to when I was prepping for 2014. And I talk about this a lot. I don't even know if you guys know, but I have a podcast, and we do a lot of specific shows, and every year we do a show based on all the films that came out of that current year. And in 2014, this one came out, and so I do a bunch of prep, and there's just certain titles that I never get around to. And then once that calendar flips over and that year turns, I just like completely block out that year for, you know, years to come, because I'm just so burnt out on that year, even though I shouldn't have anything to do with it. But anyway, that's why I've never watched this. Long story. After that, we have Tales from the Crypt Presents, the franchise collection here. We have Demon Knight and Bordello of Blood. Demon Knight is awesome. It's one of my favorite horror films of the 90s. I've always loved it. It is super good. Bordello of Blood, not so much. It kind of has its moments, but it's honestly not great. After that, we have Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, which I've actually never seen. I believe people consider this the unofficial Creepshow 3, based on the people that were involved. I believe you had Stephen King, George Romero, might have even had Tom Savini up in here, not sure. But yeah, I just have never got around to it. I will eventually, though, for sure. After that, we have Tales of Poe, which I've not got around to. It stars Caroline Williams, Amy Still, Adrian King, as well as Debbie Rochon. So you got a list of Scream Queens there. I have to check this out eventually. Just never got around to it, honestly. And then finally for this part, guys, we have Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf 2. These movies are, you know, whatever. They're not really horror films, but hey, hell, Scream Factory released them. Teen Wolf is awesome. Absolutely love it. Good movie. Teen Wolf 2, not so much. So that is it for this part, guys. I'll see you guys in the next part. Peace out.